And that may be all that this younger brother really intended to do that day. To just say it like he meant it. He's starving to death. He's got a motivation. It may not be he cares about his dad all that much, but he's starving, so that's why he's going back. And he may just be planning this out in advance to say, what can I do to get this meal? I'm dying of hunger. But it doesn't necessarily imply that he means it, right? Do we accept that? Cool. So the son starts walking back, and then the father runs to him. We'll come back to this too. But notice the son begins his planned speech, the one he's kind of got in his pocket. He starts, he says, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." But notice what he doesn't say in his speech here. What doesn't he say?
Sorry.
He doesn't say, "I'm sorry." He also doesn't say something else in the text.
I screwed up.
He doesn't say, "I screwed up." He also doesn't say, "Make me as one of your hired servants." Isn't that interesting? It's like he saw his dad running to meet him, charging at him and embracing him, and thought, "Whoa, I didn't expect that. I guess I don't have to say that last part." Thanks, Dad. Maybe. But no matter what the son's response is, whether he is truly penitent, like the pictures show of a son who's on his knees and he's, "Dad, forgive me," or whether he's, what I'm suggesting and just, saying what he needs to get welcomed back in to get some food, the father's reaction is ecstatic. He's so excited to have his son back, and he commands a robe to be brought, which in the ancient day would be something you give to distinguished guests. This is a special place of honor. He brings a ring, which is a way of saying, "You're welcome back in the family. You're one of us again. You have rights to the property. You can determine what is sold and what is bought." And he has sandals brought and put on his feet, which would have been like an ancient car, because you have transportation for yourself. So you can go where you want to. You can be about your business. He's giving him a freedom of sense. And he commands a fattened calf to be brought and slaughtered, which would feed a lot of people. This is a big party, right? Like, we need a couple more people in this room to eat this thing. But of course, this is a story about a man who had 2 sons. And the older son hears news of what's happened, and he's not very happy about it. In fact, he refuses to go in and celebrate. And so the father leaves the party, leaves all of his guests, maybe even kind of shaming himself because he has to leave his distinguished guests, and he has to go out and plead with his son. And he goes out to plead with this son. But the older son has some words for his old man. And he says to him, "Look, 1, all these years I've been slaving for you. 2, I never disobeyed your orders. 3, you never even gave me a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. 4, this son of yours has squandered your property. And 5, you killed a fattened calf for him." Can you see the older son's anger? Can you hear his indignance? And the thing is, he's right. Isn't he? He's completely right. And in this ancient culture, because the father already gave the third of the property to the younger son and the 2/3 to the older son, everything, including the fattened calf, that this younger son expects to be welcomed back into, technically belongs to the older son. If this younger son's going to come back into the household, it's going to come out of the older son's pocket. And friends, that's not fair. It's not fair. And too often, I fear, when someone wrongs us, and when someone really hurts us, we respond with a cheap form of grace. "Oh, it's okay. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, it's all right, I'll be fine." We say these things, don't we? When people hurt us? But all of these little brush-offs, all these little nothings that we say, don't speak to the real pain that people cause to us, the real hurt that we face in this life. to the business partner who promises to join in a venture, and then we get the business going, we spend tons of time, tons of our own money on a project, and then suddenly our business partner leaves us with the whole bill, with all of this wasted time and wasted money on a project. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, right. To the spouse who's been unfaithful. Oh, it's no problem. Go on. To the mom or the dad or the guardian who's abandoned their kids. Oh, it's nothing. Friends, we face deep hurt in our lives that other people cause to us. And the older brother has felt this deep hurt by his younger brother's betrayal, by having to house him, feed him, provide for him. The older brother essentially has two choices, right? And I think we all have these two basic choices. We can either, one, claim what is rightfully ours. I mean, that is an option, right? We can say, you know what, no, I'm not going to let this kid back into my house. He made his choice, I'm making mine, he's out. Sorry. I mean, and that would be fair, right? It would be. But then, of course, his family, the father, there would be an estrangement there because he loves his son. He wants the son back in. The older son would have this awkward feeling between he and his father for the rest of his life. And that would be very difficult. The other option is the long and difficult road to forgiveness. It's going to cost a lot of money from the older brother. It's going to require the trust or the hope that this younger son's not going to do this again, that he's not going to run off with more money again and just continue to be a financial leech on their family. It's going to cost so much to forgive. Of these two options, the father chooses forgiveness. The father values restored relationships over restored finances. The father values a family of forgiveness. And hear what this verse says. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Now, in the ancient world, slaves ran because they'd be wearing a garment that came to about the knees and you could run in. But fathers, they wore long gowns, robes. If you're going to run in a robe, you got to hike up the robe. You got to show your legs, which is shameful, honestly, in that culture. But we see a man who hikes up his robe and runs a long way to his son. Can you get to, skip ahead like 4. I skipped a bunch. Yeah, this is the one. There's some words that most people don't know, and that's good. But I thought this was important, and I want you to see this. This is the Greek language, the text. This is what Luke wrote the story in, basically. So you're seeing the real McCoy. And the text literally says, Kaidramo, and he ran, epepisen, epitan trakela, and he fell upon the neck of him, kaikate bilesen atan, and kissed him repeatedly. And he ran, and he fell upon the neck of him, and kissed him repeatedly. Can you see the image there? And in Greek, the nouns are very clear that the person doing these actions is the father throughout. And he ran, robe hiked up to his knees, and he ran, and he fell upon the neck of him, and he kissed him repeatedly. So let's go to this final picture here. Yeah, next one, Mark. At its core, I think this story There's a story. You see the dad over there in the blue. He's not hiking up his robe, but I think he should be. Because he would trip. But at its core, I think this is a story about a dad who is crazy about his kids. And we are God's kids. And he's crazy about us. He's crazy about you. The challenge of being one of God's kids is that we have brothers and sisters. We have other people in this world, and they hurt us deeply sometimes. People steal, people lie, people cheat, and it hurts us. And some days we're the younger brother who hurts other people, who runs off with the money, who steals, who lies, who wastes. And some days we're the older brother who has been hurt, who has been wronged, who has been stolen from. And then maybe there are some days when we're kind of both. But no matter who we are today, whether we're more like an older son, or more like a younger son, or anyone in between, I think the message is the same for us. That God is a God who runs to us with his robe hiked up. And he falls upon us, kisses us repeatedly, because he loves us so much. And he welcomes us, older son or younger son, to come into the feast and to seek forgiveness, whether we are the offender or the offended. Amen. Will you pray with me?